the first professional job I had, it was Sopranos, and then, of course, Law and Orders. But Sopranos was my first professional TV job.
Awesome. And by season 3, I mean, the show had already established its footprint. I know when season 1 came out, I mean, no one really knew what it was all about. Just kind of listening to some of the interviews with some of the cast, like some of the cast thought it was like a orchestra show and just thought it was like a comedy. So by season 2, I mean, which I think season 1 was filmed in 97 and then 99 is when season 1 came out. By the time you joined, I mean, it was already kind of established. Was it hard to get the role? Was there any added pressure because of kind of the reputation that Sopranos had already built?
Sometimes I guess the best way to describe that is, I think in the military during World War II, when you were doing paratrooper training, they said your first jump is going to be okay. You're going to be okay in your first jump. And then it gets a little tricky, the second jump and the third jump. So this was my first jump.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know a lot, as much as a lot of the other players. James especially had a lot more experience than I did, but he was my good friend, and he asked me to audition for Eugene.
Oh wow!
So yeah, so that in itself was a challenge. It's almost like a lion that, or I think leopards are like that. They kill their prey, and then they have to take their prey up to the topmost tree and hold on to it because there's a lot of different prey animals that steal it from them. So people think that they're under the impression that you get a part and you've made it, and but you have to maintain it. You have to give it a level of the best shot. In my case, it was the first professional job, so that was more rough than getting the part. Getting the part was a lot easier. My auditions really went really well. So I was maintaining it because of my lack of film experience. I did a lot of theater before that, but not film. And film is small. So I went on a crash course of learning how to act for film. A good friend of mine, Steve Schreiber from the show, he suggested Michael Caine's video on film acting, which was very, very helpful. So there's people along the way that helped out. Steve was one of them, and also James himself. James would always give me tips on how to deal with things. You can't give a tip on how to deal with pressure, but you're either going to deal with it, and everyone deals with it in their own way, you know. But I had a lot of support. I mean, it was a great opportunity. I did a lot of praying too, and I made it through. And I'm really happy with my last episode.
Oh yeah.
So.
And also too, because originally, your role was brought on as a small part, and then it just grew each season, and it was awesome because I mean, within the first few episodes, you were already getting made with Christopher, and so we knew, or at least you kind of cemented yourself. I don't think they would have made you if they didn't think that this role would grow, and it was awesome because you also worked in the show at least. There was 3 different capos that you had. Originally it was Gigi, and then it was Ralphie, and then Vito. And it seemed like the last season was kind of your push. You were right there to kind of get there.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, Zia, you have that biblical name, huh? That's a great name to have.
Thank you.
It's a very good name.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I will be honest with you. And I'll be honest for all the other actors out there that perhaps it might happen to them. I was given the role of Ralph Cifaretto originally. So Joe Pantaleone's role, I was given that role. I signed the contract for the role. But it really wasn't working out between me and James. I don't think David really liked the chemistry between us both. And I think it was a little bit of my inexperience also, honestly. But, I mean, James liked me so much, and so did David. They kept me on the show. And I had a good godfather, James. And sometimes I believe he really was the one to say, I want Bobby to stay on the show. And one of the first years, and David Chase, he's like a leprechaun. He came up to me. He said, "So what are you going to do after this season?" I was Eugene. I said, "Well, I plan on being Eugene." And he just smiled, and I stayed on, and I waited patiently, and I was rewarded with a great episode. It was tough at first, but it worked out okay. There's a lot of juxtapose, a lot of competition, but not on Sopranos. But you always want to be the best you can be. So it's a lot of questioning. I think when you first start out professionally, you have a lot of questions, and then you just don't care. I remember James telling me during members only, "See, how's it going?" I said, "It's going really good." He says, "You don't give a shit anymore, right?" I said, "No, I really don't give a shit anymore." He said, "Good. Now you're really acting. You're really acting now. So you don't give a shit anymore. You don't care about all these ins and outs. Is my hair right? Did I say that right? More experience, it strengthens you. But that's life.
Yeah.
We're all strengthened. This crisis will strengthen us. I believe it'll strengthen us. Zia, or Zia?
It's pronounced just like Isaiah, but with no I. So don't worry, I get it mispronounced all the time. Yeah.
Zaya.
Yeah.
Zaya.
Yeah.
Right on, man. So that was my experience, and of course, along the way, I started booking on the downtime of Sopranos when we weren't shooting, which was like 4 or 5 months every year. I started booking Law and Orders and stuff like that, which gave me a lot of confidence too. I must be doing something right if I'm booking these jobs. So that was really great to do those too. Working with my first was with Jerry Orbach, a wonderful musical, great theater actor. That was a great experience to work with him. I had a great time.
That's awesome.
And although it was only maybe, I think it was one scene. We had one scene together. Again, jumping out of the parachute for the first time. It's always to your advantage. You're not thinking so much, right?
Yeah. I'm sure you have, multiple, favorite scenes that you shot. My favorite scene with you was the scene in the construction site where you hit Paulie Jr. in the head with the glass bottle. That's one of my favorite scenes on there too. And then just Vito just goes in. He goes, "I heard it was someone over there that did that," and the whole situation got broken up quick. And you could just see how the family took care of its business inside, even though one of their guys is potentially dying on the floor. That was one of my favorites.
Yes, this is true. What's your question? Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just sharing my favorite scene. Would love to get your thoughts on that scene, but what was your favorite scene that you shot?
Oh, my favorite scene. I suppose my favorite scene. I think my favorite scene where I think I really was on is with Stevie Van Zandt when he told me the news that I wasn't going to be able to get out. I think there was a turmoil going on inside me that I think that was a really good scene. I also like the scene with James that I had in his office when I asked him to get out. I thought that was a good scene. But the other one was a little bit more turmoil going on with Stevie. And that scene was, it was good. And also, I mean, that whole episode, there was a lot of, there was a lot of pressure. Now you finally have, it's not all about me, but I do carry a part of the episode on my back too, because its message is for members only. And this is something that you buy in, you can never get out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's no way out. And I think for people like a lot of wise guys, John Gotti, God rest his soul too, and there's a place for him also. I mean, it's a tough life and it's hard to get out even when you are free. You're not truly free. guys like Carlo Gambino, those are old days. Those were days of old. They were able to keep under the radar enough not to be noticed. But it is not for me, that life. I mean, it's tough. It's serious. But that was my favorite scene, I suppose, with Stevie.
It was very.
And of course, I think the construction site scene was the most fun scene I had.
Those were fun.
That was the most fun scene I had, smashing with the Snapple bottle, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, the last two episodes, with you, I mean, they were very, very heavy. I mean, like, I remember when I was watching it, I was thinking that you were going to get sent. Something bad was going to happen to you, but eventually you were going to get sent to Miami. Like, maybe you would have lost your son, or maybe I was thinking your son was going to commit suicide because he had the drug problem. And you wanted to see some sort of reward for him. I felt bad because the pitch that you had given Tony was so good, and it just seemed like, maybe somehow they were going to send you to Miami or Florida, and but then maybe you'd come back like the last episode, and maybe they'd give a mission for you, and maybe something would happen to you in 6B. But it was very well played. Very good storyline, very good ending, and I felt so bad.
Well written, sure.
Very well written, very well written.
I mean, if you look at the drug addiction, my son with the drug issues, the ahead of its time, the episode, because later on the OxyContin really got to a really bad level with people and youngsters taking it. I mean, it affected a lot of people's lives. It affected my life in a personal way. With I lost my nephew, Joseph, to substance. Was doing so well, but very hard thing to fight. But so yes, thank you, Isaiah. So I mean, it had a lot of different facets that were very interesting, that episode. Terry Winter and David, well, mostly Terry, because he won the Emmy for Best Dramatic. He had a lot of, he really took the time. He took the time to think about what was going on outside also, besides just the wise guys.